My brother asked me to save his business, so I began to work. Around the clock, we counted up the money. It was $22,138. The next day, I look in the safe, all the money is gone.
I feel like I was set up. She has this complex about what she thinks I owe her that I really don't.
Plaintiff Tiffany Price claims she saved her brother's failing business, but he stole all the profits. She's suing for $5,000. Defendant Waleed Harden claims he spent their profits on legitimate business expenses. He says he owes his sister nothing.
Do you swear the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. I do.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor.
Morning, Najee. How are you?
I'm doing well, Judge. Thank you.
Good.
This is case number 137 on the docket. Price versus Harding.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Judge.
We have the plaintiff, Tiffany Price, and you are suing your brother, Waleed Harden, for $5,000 for what you say is unpaid labor, car repairs, and the return of your investment. So let's start with you, Tiffany. What is your case?
My brother, he received a lawsuit for $25,000, and he invested that money into a business, doing a general purpose store. Within literally 6 months, he received an eviction. He came to me, and he asked me to save his business as well as his credit. He was behind in rent. At that time, I had just left Nordstrom's. I had grossed about $1 million in sales for them, where I was getting a 9% commission. So I left there to start my own home business to be able to utilize my gifts for my own well-being of building my own legacy. So as I started the home business, he came, he asked me to bail him out. As far as his business goes, I agreed. I invested $5,000 to get our business up and off the ground for Valentine's Day. At that time, I had already had clientele for my business as far as I do baby shower favors, gift baskets, diaper cakes, all type of specialty gift baskets that you wouldn't find into a regular store. I feel like my brother took advantage of me during that process. I came into the store, Your Honor. I was very clear with him. The $5,000 that I invested, I knew that I would make a 3 to 4 times profit in the month and a half of that $5,000 because I didn't have a lot of time to prepare all of the gift baskets, and I was doing everything from scratch for Valentine's Day. I ordered the merchandise. It took about 7 to 10 days to come in. When the merchandise came in, I began to work. I worked 12-hour shifts was the minimum. Some nights I stayed the night inside of the store because I knew I only had a 30-day time frame for Valentine's Day to get there because we're in January. So at that point, I'm working around the clock. I'm creating the baskets. It was a little tough for me because I'm used to doing a lot of the larger baskets. I can buy the smaller baskets at a pre-made, but because we order at such a short notice, I was forced to do both. My brother did not participate. He did not help with anything as far as just collecting money.
But it takes more than just, baskets and managerial skills to run a business or to own and operate a business. And I just feel like...
At this point, I said to my brother, now we're fast forwarding with my car. About 2-3 weeks in, his car went out. He asked to borrow my car. I told him at that time, hey, I haven't really been driving the car that much. So you have to get an oil change on the car just to get it going. He said no problem. He would take care of the oil change. About a week and a half, 2 weeks in, he blew the engine on my car. He forgot. He never went and got the oil change done.
Your Honor, the agreement with the car was that it would be used for business purposes. When she gave it to me or when I initially started driving, it had the check engine light on. So I don't understand why the car would be an issue.
Your Honor, at this point, I put the car in the shop. I told him, along with the $5,000 now, if you look, you'll see the receipt as Exhibit D. I submitted. The vehicle was $1,852.97. Of course, with an engine being blown, they charged me a $900 I left as a deposit. I told my brother he would be refunding me that money as well as the $952. That was the balance to pick the vehicle up. My brother agreed that he would take care of it. We could take it out of the money. At this point, I'm still working around the clock. My car is in the shop, getting fixed. At this point now, it's Valentine's Day. I worked till about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. That was like our last customer that came in. We counted up the money. It was $22,138. I told my brother at that point because it was so late at night and I didn't want to get robbed, I said, let's leave the money in the safe at the store and we would come back and we would divvy up the money the following day, which means I would take the money out that he was to give me, my $5,000 back, along with my car repairs on the vehicle. And at that point, he agreed, and then I gave him a business plan for us to set up so that the business could be successful. My brother basically came in the next day. I was supposed to meet him in the store. I called him, he wasn't there. I look in the safe, all the money is gone.
I don't feel like I took anything from her. If anything, I gave her more than I took because I gave her the opportunity to be a business owner. I gave her the opportunity to have her own business, to go from managing to actually owning. So at the end of the day, when you take into consideration my time, my effort, my money, what would I owe her?
I told him we would then, neither of us would make a profit this time around because it was such short notice to get him out the hole. We had to pay $2,400 of the 3 months behind that he was in rent, not to mention the court costs, not to mention the additional $800 because the month was coming up for rent. So I had already told him we would pay that money just to get us out the hole. Then I explained to him out the $22,000, we would now advance the money and we would pay money. I'm still speaking, and excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Then at that point, I advised him that we would pay 3 months in advance. Again, I was a gift gallery manager for Nordstrom's. I know budgets. I know how to operate and manage a business. So I said March, April, and May, we'll pay that forward in advance so we don't go in these situations again for us to be behind in rent. My brother agreed. He said no problem. I told him then the $10,000 that we had left, we're going to invest that money and we're going to put it into Mother's Day. Instead of me working like a slave around the clock.
Would this have been after you got your $5,000 back?
Yes. So after we deducted the $5,000 and then we deducted the $952, we agreed to share that balance. So the $952 he would have given me out of the money. At that point, I'm still speaking. At that point,
Can I object?
I'm still, no, you can't object because he's going to give you a turn to speak. So at this point, Your Honor, we agreed to now pay the rent for each, like I was stating, we had a balance left that was about $10,258. I told him we would invest that money for May, for Mother's Day holiday, where we could then both profit and just pay the rent up for the couple of months, and then we could make about $100,000. And that would set us up to successfully run the business and have savings as well as be able to purchase the merchandise. So at this point, I call his phone again. He answers the phone and tell me that he left me something in the register. I go to the register and there's a note. The note read to me, after review and him seeing how I operated and ran the business, he was not comfortable doing a girly business and he no longer wanted to partner with me, and that he was keeping the entire $22,000 and I would owe him an additional $3,000 to buy the business from him because that was the lawsuit money that he received, and that he wasn't giving me any of the money at this point. I called him up and I gave him a proposition.
What was that proposition?
My proposition to him was to, at this point, since he didn't want to do the business with me, to just give me the $5,000 that I invested into the business. At that point, he would give me the balance of the $952 so that I could pick up my car from the shop. And then he would pay me for the hours at minimum wage for Georgia that I worked. I worked 360 hours minimum at $7.25 an hour. And if you look at Exhibit C, that's where it came in, where he would pay me for my wages for working. And I told him he could keep the rest of the money. Like, just pay me fairly. I understood it was a girly business. He didn't want to operate the business with me. He wasn't helping me anyway. It's my gift. So at that point, I told him just pay me for my time, pay me the $5,000 I invested in his business, and pay me for the car balance, the $952, and he could keep all of the money and run his business the way he wanted to.
Your Honor, the agreement that I recall or I remember was that I started a business and that my sister was into another type of business, and that we would get together and create a partnership and build the business. I don't feel like I owe anything because of the money and the time and the resource that I had to put out to even get it started. Like initially you gotta think of business proposals, rent, and just the insurance, like it's more to it. Like I'm gonna just say, like I physically put more than 20,000, could possibly be more than 25,000 when you actually do the numbers. And the actual agreement was just that we take the money that's made and we build the business, like we pay the bills, like we keep the costs down and we keep trying to create a profit. So that was the agreement, to come together, make money, to sustain a business and grow a business, not to be flashy about the business. I think my sister was more into the flash of the business, as you can see. Like, she's well dressed, well put together, like, you know what I'm saying? And
As I should be.
Let me just start off by saying, I think there's enough material now to first make a decision on the business, because obviously
Your
there's a
Honor,
lot more money. Either way.
for me, it's not about the money. It's about the principle of what my brother did. He hurt me. Like, he broke my heart. Like, I wouldn't have ripped him off like that. I would have never done that to him. That's the point that he's missing through this whole thing. We didn't go in business together. We never agreed to do a partnership. I bailed you out. Your credit was going to be messed up. You were not responsible. You blew through your money. It didn't charge you $25,000 to get it fixed. Let's just be honest with you blew the money. That's just the reality of it. You weren't responsible, and now you're standing here and you think that I am supposed to be the one to be accountable for what you did wrong to me.
Waleed, how was the business doing before she came along?
Before she came along, it was doing like any startup business would be doing. We was growing the business. It wasn't long before I invited her in. She was working at a place where she was doing the baskets. The baskets was cute. We'll give her that, like nice baskets. But at the end of the day, like I said, I created a situation where she could come into and be a part of something that was her own. Like I said that. And then I'm not even mentioning.
I had a home business. I didn't need you. I had my own clientele.
Hang on, ma'am. Ma'am, hang on. Let him speak.
Not to even mention when she came into the store, you know what I'm saying, like how I just handed over half of everything. I'm just saying, like, this is not my business, it's our business. So at the end of the day, like she has this complex about what she thinks I owe her for a business that I really don't, because I kind of put her in a position to be her own person.
Why did you take all the money? What did you do with the money that you took?
Let me say this to you, Your Honor. When I took the
just
money,
tell me, what
like,
did you do with the money?
I paid the bills. I paid the bills.
Did you bring bills with you?
I don't have the bills with me, and I'll say that because when I took the money and paid the bills, I left the bills in the register. So when she came the next day to the store and opened up, when she went to the register to get the money that she wanted to use to to buy another car, she saw receipts for the bills that had been paid. Like I said, to the management for rent, to PSNG for lights, to the vendors for merchandise. So it wasn't like I took the money and disappeared. Like, I just didn't want to be. I wanted to pay and make sure that the business would still be able to be open.
But if you guys were both owners, why wouldn't you have a discussion with her first what bills should be paid? If she's a part owner, then you made that decision without telling her. You just took the money and you paid some things. Why wouldn't you both sit down and say, okay, this is the money we got in. Now, which bills do you want to pay first?
To an extent, let me just say this. My sister was focused on a car. Like, in my mind, all I thought that is money and car. Like, she wanted the money to get the car. At the end of the day, I wanted the money to pay the bills to keep a store. So I paid the bills. I didn't want to argue with her about, you know what I'm saying, a motor or a transmission or a new car. I wanted to keep our store.
What was the agreement on the car?
When I got the car, Yana, I feel like I was being set up. Like, I feel like she knew the car was no good. She let me drive it so that I could be the one to ruin it, so I could be the one to owe for it. Of course, it's stated that if I have your car, then I'm responsible for your car while I have it. So at the end of the day, I think she giving me the car so that I could be the one to destroy the car. When actually, if
You was aware it needed oil.
if she would have drove the car herself, it would have been the same situation.
No, I would have put oil in it. You should be.
No.
You should really be apologizing.
I'm really
to
trying
me.
to figure out how I ended up.
The reality of it is, Your Honor, if he would just apologize, he has never even said, I apologize. He put me in a hardship. He literally put me in a hardship for this whole situation. For me to even have to be here. And it's wrong.
What?
Like, you've caused me a hardship at that time. That's why the family is not speaking to you. I had children, and you didn't care anything about me walking, me not being able to get my kids around. You did not care. You could at least just apologize. Start with that. Maybe we can mend it if you start with that.
All right. There is no formal written agreement about how this partnership would work, what the percentages would be, when people can take the money out for themselves, what bills should be paid first. In other words, when you put together a business, There's a document which says how it's going to be run. The reason you both are in court right now is because there is no formal business agreement here. And what I see is a sister helping out a brother who was having a little bit of difficulty with the startup of the company, that you were being evicted, that you owed some bills, and sister was helping out in the beginning. That is because even if in your mind it was something different, Waleed, the fact is there's no formal agreement now to say whether she's an owner. You say she was a part owner, but she wasn't involved, apparently, in the decisions of when money came in, other than you leaving a note in the register. That doesn't give her ownership decision. No, not right now. In fairness, I see your sister Tiffany put in $5,000 in that first month, did a heck of a lot of work in terms of creating a product, the result of which permitted you, Waleed, for the business to suddenly have anywhere from $17,000 to $22,000 in cash on hand. So yes, there are bills that should be paid with that. There's no question. But when I realized that if she hadn't come along, hadn't given you that $5,000, haven't produced these baskets, if she hadn't done that, we wouldn't be here saying, what should we do with that $17,000 to $22,000? So clearly it is reasonable for her to say, at least on that part of the investment, on when you're looking at $17,000 to $22,000, certainly 5 of it for that return is absolutely fair and just. I'm not getting into what you do with the rest of the money. All I can see is that she put in $5,000, which, let's be honest, was very beneficial to you at the time. And so therefore, I think it's very fair to say, without figuring out what she should get as a wage, she put in $5,000. In light of what it helped produce, she's entitled to that $5,000 back. So therefore, I find for the plaintiff in the sum of $5,000.
Before we do that,
Thank you, Your Honor. We're always going to be family. That will never change. I love my brother, but I just will never do business with him again or invest in anything that he has going on.
I would just like to say that I love her and I don't want this to go past this point. So maybe I will apologize.
It really truly wasn't about the money. He had the money. He just bought my mom a new car. He just bought himself a truck. For me, it was really just about the apology.
I will talk to my sister and we'll work past this. She may get an apology, she may not.
Hey YouTube, thanks for watching. For more Judge Jerry, click here. For more Jerry Springer, click here.